Today we're breaking down the fishing rods that serious anglers actually use. Not the generic stuff you see in big box stores, but the specialized tools that give you a real advantage on the water. By the end of this breakdown, you'll know exactly which rod to reach for in any fishing situation. Whether you're drifting baits down rushing rivers or working deep offshore structures, we've got you covered. Let's start with centerpin rods, and these are absolute game changers for river fishing. Picture this. You're standing beside a rushing river, watching your float drift downstream with the current. But here's the magic. Your float moves at exactly the same speed as the current, creating the most natural presentation possible. That's what centerpin rods make possible, and it's something you just can't achieve with conventional gear. These rods stretch anywhere from 11 to 15 feet long, sometimes even longer. That extreme length serves multiple purposes. First, it keeps your line high above the water, reducing drag that would otherwise pull your float unnaturally fast. Second, it gives you incredible reach, letting you control your drift from a distance without spooking fish in clear water. The backbone of a centerpin rod is designed to load smoothly under the bend, storing energy that helps you cast long distances with just the weight of your float and bait. Moving from rivers to coastlines, surf casting rods represent the heavy artillery of fishing gear. These beasts are built for one primary mission, launching baits incredible distances into the surf zone where feeding fish patrol beyond the breakers. We're talking rods that can measure 12 to 15 feet long with the backbone to handle massive casting weights. The engineering behind surf rods is fascinating. They need to store enormous amounts of energy during the cast, then release it smoothly to propel heavy sinkers and large baits over 100 yards. But here's where it gets interesting. Despite their power, the tips remain sensitive enough to detect subtle bites from fish feeding in the surf. That combination of raw power and finesse requires precise taper design and premium materials. Now, let's shift gears completely and talk about jigging rods. If surf rods are the long-range artillery, jigging rods are the precision sniper rifles of fishing. These rods are purpose-built for working baits vertically in deep water, and when you're fishing over structure in 40 feet of water or more, nothing else comes close. Jigging rods typically run short, usually 6 to 7 feet, with fast action and incredible sensitivity. That short length isn't a limitation, it's a feature. When you're fishing straight down, you don't need casting distance. What you need is the ability to work your jig with precision and feel every tick, every bump, every subtle change as fish investigate your offering. The stout backbone of a jigging rod serves two critical functions. First, it lets you work heavy jigs effectively, snapping them up off the bottom and letting them flutter down into the strike zone. Second, when a fish hits, that backbone gives you the power to drive the hook home and keep fish away from structure. There's no playing around when you're jigging over rocks or reefs. You hook a fish and you need to move it up and away from cover immediately. Now we're entering completely different territory with fly rods. These aren't about power or distance in the traditional sense. Fly rods are designed around an entirely different casting principle, where the weight of the line, not the lure, loads the rod and carries your fly to the target. This fundamental difference changes everything about how these rods are built and how they perform. Fly rod lengths typically range from 7 to 10 feet, with 9 feet being the sweet spot for most situations. The action determines how the rod loads and unloads during your cast. Fast action rods bend primarily in the tip, creating tight loops and cutting through wind. Slow action rods flex deeply into the butt section, generating wide loops that land delicately on the water. The beauty of fly fishing lies in presentation. Your artificial fly needs to land like real insects touching down on the surface, or drift naturally underwater like aquatic nymphs. The flexible nature of fly rods helps create that gentle presentation while still giving you control over your line during the fight. When a trout sips your dry fly off the surface, the rod's give prevents the hook from tearing free during those initial head shakes. These rods are the foundation of precision fishing, where delicate presentations separate the pros from weekend warriors. But fly rods represent just the beginning of specialized engineering. Spey rods take fly fishing to the next level with their two-handed design specifically crafted for salmon and steelhead in big water. These rods stretch 10 to 15 feet long, requiring both hands to operate effectively. The two-handed casting technique lets you launch massive distances without the backcast space that traditional fly fishing demands. When you're standing on a crowded river with brush behind you, Spey casting becomes essential. Ice fishing rods flip the script entirely. These ultra-short rods, typically measuring just 2 to 3 feet long, are engineered for fishing through holes barely 8 inches across. The short length isn't a compromise, it's perfect for the technique. When you're sitting inches from your hole, jigging lures in tight spaces, a longer rod would be completely impractical. Despite their compact size, ice rods pack serious sensitivity. The short length actually amplifies the signals coming from below, letting you detect the subtlest bites from lethargic winter fish. The fast action helps you set hooks quickly in cold water, where fish mouth baits gently. Every movement translates directly to your hand, making these rods incredibly effective for detecting light bites that longer rods might miss. Tenkara rods represent fishing in its purest form. These traditional Japanese rods eliminate the reel entirely, using a fixed length of line attached directly to the rod tip. The telescoping design collapses down to just over a foot long, making them incredibly portable. But don't mistake simplicity for limitation. Tenkara rods excel at precise presentations in small streams where stealth and accuracy matter more than distance. The fixed line system forces you to fish within the rod's length, typically 10 to 12 feet of fishable water. This constraint actually improves your technique, making you more methodical and precise. The light, flexible rod creates perfect drag-free drifts, and the direct connection between rod and fly gives you instant feedback. When a fish takes your fly, you feel it immediately through the rod. Bait finesse system rods bridge the gap between spinning and conventional bait casting gear. These specialized rods pair with ultra-light bait casting reels to throw tiny lures that regular bait casters can't handle. We're talking about casting 1/8-ounce jigs and small soft plastics with the accuracy and control that only bait casting gear provides. Travel rods solve the problem every traveling angler faces: how to bring quality gear on planes and road trips. These rods break down into multiple sections or telescope into compact packages while maintaining the performance characteristics of full-length rods. The best travel rods feel almost identical to their one-piece counterparts when assembled. Downrigger rods handle the unique challenges of deep water trolling with heavy weights. These rods feature extremely soft tips that bend dramatically under the weight of downrigger balls, sometimes 8 to 12 pounds of lead pulling your lure to precise depths. When a fish strikes, the rod tip springs back, indicating the bite and automatically setting the hook. The soft tip prevents the downrigger weight from overwhelming the rod's action while still maintaining enough sensitivity to detect strikes. The backbone provides the muscle needed to fight large fish at depth, where water pressure and the fish's weight work against you. Downrigger fishing targets species like salmon and lake trout in deep, cold water where precise depth control makes all the difference. Trolling rods are built for one purpose: pulling lures or baits behind moving boats. These rods need to handle constant pressure while maintaining enough give to prevent hooks from tearing free during the fight. The action is typically moderate to slow, absorbing the shock of strikes and the steady pull of water resistance against your lures. Length varies depending on your trolling setup, but most trolling rods run 8 to 10 feet long. The extra length helps spread lines apart, preventing tangles when running multiple rods. The backbone needs enough power to handle large fish, while the tip maintains enough flex to work with the boat's movement and wave action. Every rod we've covered serves a specific purpose in the angler's arsenal. Understanding which tool fits each situation transforms you from someone who just goes fishing into someone who systematically targets fish with precision equipment. The next time you're standing in the tackle shop, you'll know exactly which rod gives you the edge you need on the water.